Kasturi, where are you calling from? Are you in Bhubaneswar or are you in Rourkela or somewhere else? Delhi.
Sir, I'm in Bhubaneswar.
Good, good. I hope you had some breakfast. You look a little emaciated. Of course, you are awfully young. You are only 23 years old.
Yes, sir.
You are practicing the wearing of a mask,
Yes,
or because you think you are likely to be infected from the other inmates of your house.
No, sir. Since the interview will be having mask, so I was trying to practice with it.
Okay, but for our sake, in order to judge you correctly, you may dispense with the mic, with the mask for a while.
For better speech clarity.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. No problem.
Of course, in the interview, you have to protect yourself as well as protect the board members. It is mutual.
Yes, sir.
Good. So you are like a schoolgirl. And you are even younger than my granddaughter. So we tend to be a little, what is called lenient, paternalistic. So, but don't bother. That is only because I'm the oldest guy. I may be a little lenient, but there are tough nuts in our panel, so they will grill you. Be prepared. Yes, so your optional is sociology.
Yes, sir.
But otherwise, you studied computer science and engineering in a very good college, NIT Rourkela.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good, good. And your father works in the Ministry of, Department of Municipal and Urban Development or something like that.
Yes, sir.
Good. He's said to be a consultant. That means he's not in the IAS.
Sorry, sir. My mother is a consultant in a self-employed private firm. My father works as an Odisha Administrative Service.
Achha, has he got into the IAS? Not yet.
No, sir.
Not yet.
No, sir.
He will get in. No. There is a entry of 1/3 of the vacancies of any state in the IAS are by promotion. So they do get inducted from the state service.
Yes, sir.
Generally revenue department, but I don't know whether your father was mostly in this municipal and urban development service. I really don't know. But he will become an IAS officer. He must be having another 10 or 15 years of service left.
Sir, around 6 to 7 years. Sir.
He'll get it probably. Anyway, you may get into the IAS even before him. There is a distinct possibility of the daughter overtaking the father. But that's good news for the father and all of us. So this is your very second attempt.
Yes, sir.
In the first attempt, did you go up to the mains or it was just a half-hearted attempt?
No, sir. It was only by the advice of my father that I sit for the exam and see what is the process. I was unprepared.
I thought as much. So now you are fully prepared and I'm sure you will get into the IAS. I find absolutely no obstacle between you and the Indian Administrative Service. I'm sure you will. Nevertheless, we will be telling you towards the end of this program, this mock interview, certain techniques which you may have to employ. And if there are any gaps in your knowledge, we will tell you. So now I'll hand you over to the former Chief Secretary of the Telangana State, Dr. M.G. Gopal. He will guide you very carefully. Gopal Garu.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Good morning, sir.
Yes, sir. Good morning to you. Are you able to hear me, see me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Kasturi, you worked as an intern. You were trained in some scheme called Amrut, AMRUT. So
yes,
what is the full form of that scheme?
Sir, Amrut stands for Atal Mission for Rejuvenation and Urban Transformation.
What were the components of that scheme?
Sir, Amrut, the central government through the MOHUA, the Housing and Urban Affairs Department, selected 500 cities from all over India for improving basic infrastructure and ICT technologies, provision of water, sanitation, and civic amenities in the urban areas.
Okay. What is the difference between Amrut scheme and Smart City scheme?
Sir, for Amrut, 500 cities were selected from tier 2 and tier 3 cities. But sir, the smart city mission was for tier 1 cities with higher population, especially aimed at increasing penetration of information and communication technology in those areas.
What is the basis for allotment of number of cities to a state under smart city?
Sir, I'm not exactly aware of it, but sir, every state was given at least one city.
Okay. In Orissa, how many cities have been selected for this program?
Sir, for Amrut or sir?
No, smart city. Smart city.
So for smart city from Odisha, 3 cities were selected. So Bhubaneswar, so Rourkela, and so the Berhampur.
Okay. Now, why is that a corporation had to be set up in which you underwent your internship instead of the municipal corporation of Bhubaneswar taking up the scheme themselves?
So the Smart City project was introduced with the aim to financially empower and decentralize process of increasing amenities in the urban areas through setting up a special purpose vehicle, SPV, and it was a centrally sponsored scheme. So the SPV was responsible for the state's contribution into the scheme, and also augmented with the center's contribution, the facilities were provided.
But don't you think it could have been done with the existing municipal council or corporation itself? Any special reason why a corporation was set up for smart city?
Sir, I'm not sure.
Okay, all right. Now tell me, recently the Orissa government and the Lingaraj Temple Trust Board, they all questioned Government of India about the restrictions imposed on development around the temple.
Yes, sir.
Why did Government of India impose restrictions, and what is the resistance now?
So the Government of India imposed restrictions due to the less amount of research and studies done about the consequences of the developmental activities that will occur around the Lingaraj temple, since it was not yet approved by the Archaeological Survey of India. But however, so this met with resistance from the local population, because Lingaraja temple is spiritually aligned with the local population. And since the state government's effort was to improvise and develop that area, so the locals, there was resistance. And also, sir, the state's plan also had a clause that the local areas, the shops and the houses nearby have also to be evicted due to less amount of appropriate rehabilitation and compensation measures present in that. There were issues and contentions.
But has the Ancient Monuments or Archaeological Survey Act of recent to 2010, did it have anything to do with imposing these restrictions of development around the temple, or is it just like that Government of India asked for stoppage of development?
Sir, I'm aware that there were certain ancillary deities other than the Lingaraj temple, like some other lingers of Shiva and other gods.
No, it's okay. Let's not get into that. But what is the radius within which no development should take place according to this new condition of Government of India?
I'm sorry, sir. Okay, I'll read upon it.
Oh, no, it's okay. We'll discuss about it. Now, Orissa is considered to be largely having a tribal population, much more than the neighboring states have. Okay. Yes. Now, you would have heard of the act called Restoration of Forest Rights Act of 2006. Has it done any good to the tribals of Orissa?
So the Forest Rights Act of 2006 has given mixed results. In terms of the minor forest produce and giving the minimum support price through those products collected by tribals It has, to some extent, generated employment initiatives. But, sir, it also had disadvantages sides that it mentioned. Around 70 years or 3 generations of tribals should be present in those areas where they claim rights to. But those tribals are generally uneducated and without any paper proofs or any evidence that they used to stay there, which led to issues and also led to a Supreme Court judgment that the eviction of tribals by governments was acceptable.
So, if you are the district magistrate of, say, Koraput district, what will you do if you are asked to evict the tribals?
Sir, I will take the orders of my seniors as I am assigned to do so.
Okay, as an individual, if you are given the freedom, would you look at the livelihood security of the tribals, or without filing any revision petition or further litigation in Supreme Court, or seeking the President of India's inherent powers under Constitution, will you throw away these tribals and make them get into the lap of the Naxalites?
Sir, about the petitions and litigation angle, sir, it is their fundamental right to appeal for the orders. And sir, I'll definitely assist if required to the tribals to do so. And sir, about eviction, since it is my responsibility to take the orders, I'll do so. But also I'll ensure that they have alternative livelihood measures and also habitation.
Okay, all right. Good. Did you hear of the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations, and what are they?
So the Sustainable Development Goals are 17 goals taken up by countries through the United Nations to reach those goals of development by 2030. For example, so goal number 1 says to lead towards no poverty. So goal number 2 refers to reducing hunger and improving nutritional outcomes.
Okay, so out of these 17 goals, to what extent do you think Orissa as a state has progressed very well in the direction of achieving by 2030? And in what goals they are not all that very good in implementation?
Sir, there have been so the recent Niti Aayog's SDG report around assessment of states in this, Odisha has not performed very well in that. Although, sir, in some goals such as improving the ease of doing business, improving infrastructure and innovation, Odisha has performed better. And sir, in reducing gender inequalities through schemes like the Mission Shakti and sir, SHG is providing credit and giving them employment opportunities. Odisha is faring well.
What about ecosystem and biodiversity? How many marks do you think Odisha has got? 100%.
So mainly due to the Chilika efforts.
Yes, yeah. And also the forest cover.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now tell me, you want to become a civil servant. You would have seen many civil servants in your state. What are the qualities required of a civil servant, and what do you think the civil servants lack in those qualities from your observation?
Sir, the most important requirements for a civil servant will be integrity, empathy, and pursuit of excellence. Sir, I see lagging in some spheres, so due to persistent corruption in the system. And also, sir, red tapeism and sitting on files, which shows lack of empathy for vulnerable communities.
Yes. Okay. Now, what is the most important challenge of a civil servant these days? Say an IAS officer.
So, present day's most important challenge is the health sector due to the pandemic situation.
As individuals, it's not, I'm talking about general development and the backwardness. As individuals, what challenge? Do they have specialization in the tasks that they perform, or are they considered to be just generalists?
Sir, about the specialization and generalization debate, there is the issue of increasing digitization through schemes such as the Mission Karm Yogi into the system without proper training and capacity building, which is ultimately leading to even more red tapeism in the system.
Do you think a specialist has to be selected as an IAS officer right from day one, or should they specialize for a period of time?
Sir, I'm of the view that the present system of inducting generalists is correct, but sir, there must be training systems and proper also mid-career level training in order to train them for certain specialized roles, especially in cases of health, digital, etc.
Good. Okay. What is the public-private partnership project, and can you give me some examples of Odisha?
So public-private partnership refers to the cooperation between a private company and the government to provide certain citizen services. So in Odisha, for disaster management and especially handling of cyclones, Odisha has a PPP with Infosys for early warning detection systems and incorporating digital technologies for the disaster management activities.
But do you really think that it is a PPP project, or is it only a service contract given to Infosys? For instance, the Income Tax Department has given a service contract to Infosys to build up a website, a new portal. But do you really call that the public-private partnerships in terms of risk sharing?
No, sir, I apologize. That was my mistake.
All right.
Sir, PPP can be seen in airports. So in those cases, government comes in partnership with private companies to build and modernize.
So how are the private investors expected to recover their money back when they invest in airports or say road projects?
Sir, I am aware of two processes of recovery of the private companies. So the first one, the government allows the private company to collect tolls and taxes, which is often seen in the high-speed roadways. And so in the second process, after the construction and building, the private company gives the ownership completely to the government, and through year-on-year basis, the capital and the profits are shared on with the private company. I'm sorry, sir, I'm unable to recall the technical word.
That's okay. No, it's annuities.
Yes, sir, annuities.
That's okay. Yes.
Did
you hear of the prescription given by the Niti Aayog for setting up medical colleges by private sector by investing money and leveraging the governmental hospital infrastructure available in the districts?
So Niti Aayog?
They have prescribed, there's a prescription given by them as to how a successful PPP can be established by private sector to start a medical college.
Sorry, sir, I'll read upon.
All right. Finally, before I pass on to my co-panelists, tell me, what is FRBM Act?
Sir, FRBM refers to Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management Act, which prescribes a limit for the fiscal deficit, beyond which it will be harmful for the economy.
Okay, but recently in the context of recovery from COVID, the states were not able to generate substantial revenues, and therefore the government of India permitted the states to raise more than the norm, and upon achievement of certain conditionalities. Are you aware of these conditionalities?
Yes, sir. So the conditionalities include reforms in the agriculture sector, and so inclusion in the One Nation, One Ration Card scheme. And so in the electricity sector, due to high NPAs, the states are also advised to improve, to bring reforms in that context.
Okay. Thank you, Vivek.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, Kasturi.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Can you see me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. You are from engineering background and you have chosen sociology.
Yes, sir.
Tell me the reason why.
Sir, I have done my B.Tech in computer science engineering, which was not available as an optional in the mains exam. And sir, my choosing of sociology is based on some suggestions I received from my seniors and also my father and his colleagues that since I was doing my preparation by myself, it will be easier to handle as a subject.
Has it made any difference to Kasturi reading sociology?
Yes, sir. I have come across different.
No, apart from your success in the exam.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, tell me.
Sir, in sociology, we have studied about differential perspectives in the society, the problems of vulnerable communities, and how to have a more wider approach to any kind of social problems that we have in society.
Yeah.
So, for example, in the Swachh Bharat mission, although the aim was to improve the sanitation in India and remove the open defecation, but sir, it also had a problem of the caste and rural issues, such as mostly the manual scavengers were included from the Dalit and the SC community.
Okay.
And yes, sir.
Good. Now, this Swachh Bharat mission, has it really mitigated the severity of untouchability or the contempt towards menial work? What has been the outcome of Swachh Bharat mission from a sociological perspective?
Yes, sir. The Swachh Bharat mission has definitely reduced the severity of untouchability, and we have also come up with measures, other alternative livelihood measures for the manual scavengers. The problem of defecation has been almost completely reduced. Since most of the states have claimed that they have achieved 100% zero open defecation. Yes, sir.
That's as far as hygiene and cleanliness is concerned. But from a sociological perspective, as a social groups, the interaction between social groups, how different groups perceive those who are engaged in this activity. The interface between the different communities as a result of Swachh Bharat mission.
Sociologically, the issues included that often the higher castes were of the view, especially in rural areas, were of the view that defecation should not be performed at home because it is a polluting activity. So there the concept of purity and pollution comes up, where they believe that all the polluting activities like defecation have to be handled by the lower castes and the scheduled castes, which often led to contentions between these two caste groups.
Now, as a result of Swachh Bharat, what is the effect? That is the point. You have stated the problem, okay, but now there is an intervention. State intervention is there by way of a massive program called Swachh Bharat. Now, what has been its positive outcome, if at all there is any positive outcome?
Sir, one positive outcome I can see myself is through building of public toilets. So we cannot prescribe that only the higher caste or the lower caste will be using it. So in that case, definitely there has been a reduction in the gap between the higher and the lower caste who both of the groups use the same public toilet.
But there are also individual toilets apart from public toilets. So, what I would like to know from you is the interface between those communities which were engaged in this, manual clearing of night soil, and the so-called other groups. Now, has there been any kind of, new equation?
Yes, sir. I mentioned the purity and pollution angle. So by that logic, we can see that defecation, which was often seen as a polluting activity by the higher caste, is being performed in their individual houses themselves. And secondly, sir, as they believe that such polluting activities should be taken up by only the lower caste. So I am aware of a scheme by the Odisha government, the FSTP, fecal sludge treatment plants, where so the communities are being empowered to themselves set up such plants through credits of the government. And so in this I can see that there is no caste angle. the demand of credit from the government has been equal from all the castes. So now, so the higher castes are also involved in these activities.
Now, are members of this community who were otherwise engaged earlier in this menial activity, so-called menial activity,
Yes, sir.
are they now being accepted as part of, or as equals, and at the, at the social interface level? What has been the level of rapport between these two communities?
Sir, while the practice of untouchability and demeaning attitude towards the lower caste still persists, but sir, so it is clear that this has the severity of these have definitely reduced through Swachh Bharat mission.
Are they being invited to take part in parties and common eating? Is it happening, or is it purely an urban phenomenon? But village level is the same. Distance is being maintained. Or what? Any idea you have?
Sir, I am personally not aware of the ground reality, but I have read that it still persists in villages
Oh,
and
okay.
only reduced in urban areas.
Okay. Now, talking of caste, given the plurality of our country and given various affirmative actions being, taken by the government, uh, whether the social stratification that as a sociologist I'm sure you will understand, uh, is it leading to greater uh, prominence? Are the lines being drawn more rigidly, or are the lines blurring?
So, through the affirmative actions taken by the state, such as reservations in employment, in political posts, and in elections, so these lines have mostly blurred out in certain sectors, like so in politics, where different parties have come up, and we have seen coalitions between different ideologies, such as in so the BSP in UP and Bihar are also moving forward to take up the Brahmin votes. And so in economic spheres also, especially in the urban areas, the lines have reduced due to coming up, so especially with this rise of middle class,
Yeah.
where the higher caste and the lower caste alike are taking up similar jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir.
Now, we are all living in a global context now. Globalization is here and it is here to stay.
Yes, sir.
Now, tell me, has globalization impacted, the institution of marriage in any way?
Yes, sir. Globalization, particularly from the west to east, believes in the theory of modernization, where the lines of caste and religion are fading out. So, in institution of marriage, we are seeing intercaste marriages, although very low, and
Mm-hmm.
interreligion marriages, and so reduction in the practices of dowry and parda pratha,
Mm-hmm.
etc.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What has been its impact, in terms of stability in marriage?
So the impact of globalization of stability in marriage, I can see a mixed
Mm-hmm.
solution, a mixed consequence of it. So firstly, for increasing stability of marriage, we can see the form of, so it is called the symmetrical families formed by equal share of household and the employment work shared by the husband and the wife. But sir, also due to high modernization and individualization of ideals, we have also seen the breakdown in marriages are very high. And today, the couples do not prefer marriage and they are also taking up live in relationships, which are very fluid.
Now, why do you think there is a greater tendency towards divorces and breakup of marriages? Is it because women assert their rights, and then man is not prepared to accept the assertion of women and accept her as human being of equal stature?
Yes, sir. That is definitely one of the reasons where the patriarchal mindset is still very prevalent in Indian society, where women assert their rights and the men are not prepared to give them so. However, sir, I also believe every time a marriage breakdown occurs, it is not just a gender-based problem. Since, sir, due to individualization, where so the lines between a woman and man are reducing, especially in employment spheres, where so stress and responsibilities have been increasing, they often fail to balance their professional and personal life, which
So
leads
how
to
do we address
breakdowns.
this? How do we address this question of changing the patriarchal mindset of men?
So, so the change in patriarchal mindset of men has already started in the Indian society, and so it will take time when our society reaches that level of maturity to accept that gender is irrespective of the individual rights.
No, where do we begin actually? Where do we begin this process of change of mind, change of attitude towards women, men's attitude towards women, treating them as fellow human beings with equal rights and freedoms and so on.
So, in my opinion, the beginning has already started in all the political, economic, and social spheres where women are empowered and they are proving themselves to be e- uh, equally taking up the roles that men have been taking. Such as, sir, there has been stereotyping of drivers or so the railway drivers, where only men were allowed. But now, also in the mining industry, women are taking up those roles. And so, in the caregiving industry, there was a stereotype that only women should be involved in it. But so today, we have equal number of doctors from men
Yeah.
also. Yes, sir.
Don't you think we should look at family as the beginning point?
Definitely, sir.
How,
Family has to
how,
start.
how a male child and a female child is raised in the family. Don't you think that is the starting point?
Yes, sir.
So, what is that process called in sociology?
So socialization.
Socialization process, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So, what you said is what results out of all this socialization process. So, therefore, the beginning has to be made in the home
Family.
itself,
Yes, sir.
isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, right. Lot of progressive legislations are coming, which go in favor of women, and there is also sometimes one can't help feel that the kind of legislation that is being made is gender biased, right? So laws tend to be more favorable towards women because the presumption is that they are weaker section, weaker sex.
Yes, sir.
Now, tell me, in the context of the Sabarimala temple judgment, now, do you think the intervention of the court was necessary?
Sir, since the Sabrimala is currently in the appeal stage and Supreme Court itself has said that the boundaries of constitutional religious rights and essentiality of intervention into religions is not yet clear.
Hmm.
So, sir, it will be premature to conclude if the Supreme Court was right in intervening. But, sir, I believe there could have been a more cautious approach where all the stakeholders should be communicated before any direction is given in any kind of religious activity.
Now, tell me from perhaps your understanding of sociology. Do you think when the judgment was delivered, women were happy with the judgment?
Sir, in this case also there was division itself in the only among the women, where some did accept the judgment as liberation of women rights. But sir, there is also this so the phenomenon in sociology called as patriarchal bargain, where women themselves agree to the patriarchal mindsets due to variety of reasons.
Hmm. So, do you think women welcomed the judgment, or they felt that it was all unnecessary thing?
So there was mixed reaction. Some
Oh,
did welcome it, some did not accept it.
okay, good. Right. Now tell me, you are also into what is called sustainable fashion designing. I find it quite interesting. So, can you tell us, see, what this sustainable fashion design is? Actually, the moment I read it, we know something of fashion design, and fashion design means something which is unwearable, right? The kind of dresses they design and they walk on the ramp. Perhaps you just can't wear them outside and then go about, right?
Yes, sir.
So, but then you said it's sustainable fashion design. Can you explain what it is, and you have delved into this, or is it merely what is it? Some kind of a hobby, or what do you do exactly in this?
For your first question, sustainable fashion design means
Mm.
incorporating certain re-engineering practices in the fashion industry. So, such as the fashion industry is a highly polluting industry where around 30% of the fabrics produced worldwide goes into waste. So, incorporating of recycling and the circular economy in the fashion industry. Secondly, sir, there is a high use of water and chemicals, especially artificial chemicals, which have been harmful to both humans as well as the terrestrial and marine life. We are incorporating certain technological changes that will reduce the use of water and use natural chemicals instead of artificial chemicals. Second, sir, my association with this practice was started from my college when I joined a fashion club, and we used to host fashion events in our college where we used recycled fashion products to make and made them wear to models to portray how that can be
What was the
acceptable to
material used?
others.
What was the material used?
So mostly our major product was the fabrics that were given up by the students. Second, sir, we tried to use the discarded umbrellas and the cycle seat covers to also incorporate certain designs into those fabrics.
Mhm.
And also, sir, books and cardboards, which were unused. Those were also included in the clothes to come up with new designs.
So, in a sense, it was slightly repurposing the material.
Yes, sir.
Okay, right. Now, in this context, assuming that you are now secretary in the textile ministry, uh, what kind of a policy inputs you will give to the political master?
Sir, as a secretary in the textile industry, since I am going to cater to a larger audience and employment, so first I'll try to focus on the handicraft and handloom industry in India, which
Mhm.
are in dire need of support from the government due to its reducing presence worldwide. And so, secondly, the fashion industry, the textile industry is mostly concentrated more than 70% only in the MSME sector
Mhm.
and informal labor. So that will require policy initiatives to make the social security more inclusive for them and also provide them with credit
Mhm.
and address their higher NPA problem.
Mhm. Okay, are you aware of the National Textile Policy 2020? At least some broad features, what it aims at, and
Sir, I can recall some points like the mega textile parks. The Mitra scheme has been introduced to set up mega textile parks and support the artisans through it. Second, sir, there is also promotion of cotton by the by my name, Kasturi Cotton, to show its premiumness worldwide.
what is sure, as far as text part of the textile policy. What is
Sir,
sure? SURE.
yes, sir.
I'm
So
sure you are
sure
aware
was
of it.
actually,
Yeah.
sir, I can vaguely recall it.
Okay. Tell
I'm
me.
not exactly aware.
Okay. Sustainable resolution.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. What is it about?
Sir, sure. Sustainable resolution was initially introduced by the only the private companies themselves through a self-regulatory body of fashion brands, which was then taken up by the government to increase the sustainability in the fashion industry.
Now we all know that these jeans are now fashionable, and then they have almost become unisex, right?
Yes, sir.
And but there is also criticism about jeans that they consume hell out of water. And, they are
Yes, sir.
highly now. Why are we not able to take a firm step to curb by the use of jeans or totally ban them, knowing pretty well that its harmful effects both ecologically and otherwise.
Sir, can you please repeat the question, sir?
Yeah. It's about genes. Genes, we know that they are environmentally not very friendly,
Yes, sir.
right? They consume hell out of water to manufacture, right?
Yes, sir.
So why is that we are not able to either curb their use or perhaps if it is necessary ban them altogether?
Sir, our inability to curb their use. So there are two major reasons behind it. So first one is the less regulation in the fashion industry, where it is difficult to prescribe what the producers produced and what the consumers consume due to its high form of informal activities in India. Second, sir, is one of the social aspects. Sir, when jeans was introduced, it had its own, so it was seen as a symbol of liberal ideas, where citizens get their own right of how they wear and what they wear. So, so it is difficult to take this out from the mindset of people, which is such large as a symbol of liberalization.
That was interesting, Kasturi, talking with you.
Thank you, sir.
My co-panelists will continue this conversation with you. Okay? Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Ms. Kasturi,
Good morning, sir.
good morning. So we all heard about Orissa and Oriya language, but
Yes,
today it is called Odisha and Odia. So why
yes.
this change?
Sir, since the colonial times, the spelling of the language was written as Oriya, due to the British pronunciation and writing of the term. But sir, Odia actually comes from the word Udra or the Udra Desha, from as the historical land behind Odisha.
Okay.
And so the state government took the initiative to bring back the identity of the locals and give back its name as Odia and Odisha.
Is there any historical perspective for this?
Sir, I'm only aware of the name of the land, sir. I'm not aware.
Okay. What about Saral Dasa? Is there anything with the Saral Dasa? He brought Mahabharata. There he has used some words. Or any inscription?
Sir, I'll read upon.
Okay. Kasturi,
Yes, sir.
This Odisha has brought a different model for COVID control.
Yes, sir.
And the Chief Minister has given certain instructions. Are you aware of these instructions?
Yes, sir.
What are they?
So the instructions given by the Odisha Chief Minister are, sir, more efforts are being put forward into the western side of Odisha, which is less developed as well as has a border with Chhattisgarh, which has high amount of cases. Second, sir, when the quarantine measures were taken, the government came up with a unique initiative that food and water will not be directly provided to the inmates, the quarantined persons, especially the migrant laborers who were given raw wheat, rice, so the wheat flour, rice, and vegetables so that they cook it themselves, and so it was used as a pastime so that they do not go out of the quarantine center to mingle with others.
So Is there anything with the students? He has given certain instructions for the students.
Sir, I'm sorry, sir, I'm not aware.
It's okay, it's okay. Ms. Kasturi, let us see about the farmers from Odisha.
Yes, sir.
So along with the Prime Minister's Kisan Nidhi, so he also brought one program in Odisha. Are you aware of this program?
Yes, sir, the Kalia scheme.
Yes. What is the difference between the central scheme and the state scheme?
So the central scheme promises 6,000 of installment, 6,000 per year in terms of 3 installments through DBT for farmers as a form of universal basic income for the farmers. But sir, in Odisha, the Kalia scheme was introduced for giving 10,000 in installments, which is now also converged with the central scheme, and only the gap of 4,000 is being given. Second, sir, the central scheme had the only criteria that farmers with less than 2 hectares of land are eligible. But so the state scheme differentiates between, so also it gives to the landless laborers for 5 to 2 acre land farmers and also below 2 hectare land farmers.
Okay, any exclusion?
I'm sorry, sir, I'm not aware.
Okay, so there is one more class anyway. Let us see, Kasturi.
Yes, sir.
From Chhattisgarh, of course, nearby.
Yes, sir.
There was one father Stan Swami.
Yes, sir.
Are you aware of the incident of this?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, what exactly is this and why?
So Father Stan Swami was a tribal activist who was under preventive detention under the UAPA Act. Since the government perceived his activities as directed against the sovereign.
What exactly is the act and why he was denied the bail?
So the act was UAPA, which is Unlawful Activities Prevention Act,
yes,
which aims to reduce anti-sovereign activities in the state. And it has a provision of unbailable offense where individuals as well as organizations can be banned for their activities.
So there is one section called 43D5.
Okay, sir.
So what does it say? You got any idea?
Sorry, sir, I'll read on.
Okay. So as a result, of course, he died in the custody.
Yes, sir.
But exactly on 22nd January, I think that
yes,
is your birthday. But after 1 year of your birthday,
yes,
that
sir.
is in 99.
Yes,
one very sad incident took place in Orissa. Are you aware of that incident?
Yes, sir. The super cyclone of 99.
Yeah, of course. Super cyclone is different, but there is again, like Stan Swami, there was a family came to Orissa, and I think I heard about he was burned. His sons, 2 sons were burned.
I'm sorry, sir, I'm not aware.
Graham Staines.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Oh, anyway, that was an incident. But looking at that incident and these incidents, recently, Ramachandra Guha, he remarked that the Hindu mind is shrinking. So what exactly do we infer from this statement of Ramachandra Guha? Hindu mind means almost 80% of the people are Hindus. So he said that the majority of the Indians, the mind is shrinking. As a student, can you throw some light on this statement? Can we, do you accept this or do you reject this? What is your view?
Sir, the Hindu mind is shrinking perhaps refers to the increasing intolerance in society to accept ideas that not in coherence with the generalized Hindutva mindset. So
okay,
hence,
go on. Your understanding is very important for us.
so since the majority of Indians are Hindus, he may be referring to the majority population of India who are growing intolerant to other communities, sir, such as especially the vulnerable ones. Like there are sir, atrocities against women, there are atrocities against the SC/ST, and also, sir, our intolerance to the transgender community.
Yeah. So in this respect, Kasturi, please tell us, from the background of the sociology, you all heard about these terms, secularization.
Yes, sir.
I give 3 terms. Please contemplate on the 3 and give the situation from the context. Secularization, resacralization, and fundamentalism. That's the 3 terms. Secularization, resacralization, and fundamentalism.
So secularization refers to the ideology which believes in separation of the institutions from both all political, economic, and other social from religion. So fundamentalism refers to the coming up of ideologies which believe in strict adherence to the scriptures of a particular religion, such as Islamic fundamentalism in Iran.
Yes.
So the third was resacralization.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, sir. I'm not
That is
aware.
mysticism. That is mysticism and transcendentalism. So these are the 3 aspects. Okay. If you see the Indian society, do you find any, whether they are coming down or the Indian society is ascending? So what exactly is your understanding about the secularization, resacralization, and fundamentalism? What is your view? How can you see the Indian society?
Sir, in Indian society, I can see that secularization is increasing. Fundamentalism does not have strong presence in India. And so resacralization is still persisting and sometimes increasing.
Okay, so what can we infer from this? So whether we accept the statement given by Ramchandra Guha?
Sir, we can accept the statement by Sri R.C. Guha that sir, intolerance in India is not particularly due to only religion, but there are other strands which are often...
Yeah, of course, intolerance is a bigger topic. That's my connotation is that. Anyway, let us move on to other important aspect. That is, you are interested in writing short plays.
Yes, sir.
So did you write any short play?
Yes, sir.
So what is the title of that short play?
Sir, I mostly write taking some inspiration from characters in other TV shows or mythological stories, etc., and try to write a scientific fictional play. So recently, I wrote a play, the genre of romantic tragedy, based on the conversations and life of a designer baby named as Raman Yadru and a 3D printed human by the name Drupali.
Ms. Kasturi, tell us, what is the difference between play and short play?
So plays, when written, have often the ambition of being presented in a theater or through any digital medium or movies or TV shows. But sir, short plays are only written with the intention of the author's mindset of replicating the imagination of the author on a paper.
It's on a paper, or is it meant for playing on the stage, is it meant for stage or not? Both are meant for stage.
Yes, sir.
Agree?
Yes,
So,
sir.
okay. So what is the difference between a short play and one act play?
So one act play means only one character is present who itself is the narrator and takes the roles of protagonist as well as antagonist. But sir, short plays can have more than one character.
Only character or anything else? Can you go for more or more scenes? Or more places?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. One act will have only one scene or one event. But sir, play can include more than one event which are interlinked to each other.
Okay. Coming to the last question.
Yes, sir.
In your options after your state, so far in the south, if we can see that you asked for the Karnataka state, then went for Telangana state, Kerala state, then Tamil Nadu state. Last one is Andhra state. But Andhra is adjacent to you. Then what makes you to go for other states when you are nearer to Andhra Pradesh?
So the cadre-based system currently was very complicated, and I came up the conclusion that it is, so irrespective of my choices, I will be given the cadre I deserve, or the algorithm seems me to be deserving. So I did not give any particular thought to how I give the cadre.
Now tell us, Kasturi, what are the issues between Andhra and Odisha? Odisha?
Sir, one issue between Andhra Pradesh and Odisha is the sharing of water of the Vanshadhara river. Secondly, sir, there is contention in the southern Odisha in the tribal belt of Malkangiri and Koraput, especially a panchayat named as Kotia and the Swabhiman Anchal in Malkangiri, where Andhra Pradesh is asserting that the land comes under their jurisdiction.
But there are some seven villagers, they want to come to Andhra from Odisha. Why they want to merge themselves to Andhra Pradesh?
So their first reason for believing so, sir, Kotia has a population of both Odia and Telugu. So perhaps due to their affinity to the Telugu language, they prefer Andhra Pradesh over Odisha. And so secondly, it is important to point out the developmental initiatives taken up by Odisha government has not yet reached 100% to the southern and western belts, which is why the locals want to leave the state.
Okay, Kasturi, it's nice talking to you. Over to Somshekarji.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, good morning, Ms. Kasturi Panda.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah. Now, just out of curiosity, you said as an intern, you worked with E&Y in Hyderabad.
Yes, sir.
And in an office called the Oval Office. I have only heard of Oval Office in Washington.
Yes, sir.
What is this Oval Office? Is it a seat of power, or you felt important in this office?
Sir, Oval Office in Washington is the president's office, but sir, in Hyderabad, that does not have any administrative center. It is only based on the infrastructural design of the building that it is oval in structure, and they named it as the Oval Office.
Okay, it is only the structure and shape, is it?
Yes, sir.
As far as learning was concerned, or was it useful?
Sir, yes, sir. In that way.
Okay. Now, have you registered yourself as a voter?
Yes, sir.
You're sounding a bit doubtful.
Sir, I could not. Actually, your voice is not clear, sir.
No, have you registered yourself as a voter?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Have you heard of NOTA?
Yes, sir.
What does it mean, and have you voted any time?
Sir, not yet, sir.
What is NOTA then?
So NOTA refers to none of the above, which is given as a choice to the voters if they wish to not vote any of the candidates who are contesting in their constituency.
And does it have any influence or outcome on the result as of now?
So it does give the right of the voter to deny that they are not satisfied with the manifestos provided by the candidates during the elections.
Okay. Do you think voting should be made compulsory, or how do you incentivize voters, because you don't find that enthusiasm in younger people to vote? What is your thinking on this?
Sir, in my opinion, voting cannot be made compulsory, because sir, voting itself is a right where citizens themselves wanted to vote and elect their candidates, and it is irrespective of views of other citizens who do not wish to vote. And so, secondly, there may be also, sir, I would like to point out my own reason also. I was in an educational institution far from the constituency I am registered, so I was unable to vote. So, sir, making it compulsory will lead to punitive measures for those who do not vote for reasons that are beyond their control also.
They declare a holiday for on that day, and you can go home if you are far away, if you are in a place, and then vote, isn't it? That is one incentive that has been offered. And if it is a weekend, you get 2-3 days. And people are taking away on a vacation than voting.
Yes, sir.
Okay. As a computer engineer,
Yes,
one of the very healthy trends we find is a lot of women employees in IT industry, electronics, some of the emerging technologies. Perhaps we will find many in artificial intelligence and these new technologies that are emerging. However, if you look at top leadership level or startups,
yes, sir.
there is a huge deficiency gap. We don't find many women running startups or at the top, except perhaps the chairman of NASCOM
Yes, sir.
or president of NASCOM, both are women. What is this reason? Is there lack of ambition or lack of opportunities?
Sir, I will not believe that it is lack of ambition, because there are, of course, some women who are at the top. So it can be seen, also not seen as a lack of opportunity, because some in Companies Act also there is provision of one women director. Sir, I see it as a challenge of the society, where there is a perception that women are not great business leaders or political leaders, which indirectly refers to the patriarchal mindset that gives a glass ceiling for women beyond which there is difficulty to reach the top posts.
No, there are incentives. IT companies now provide for longer leave.
Yes, sir.
Maternity leave. And in fact, some companies have gone ahead and given paternity leave also. So there are incentives to ensure that women don't, leave or, are not given many obstacles in their growth as such. Similarly, there are a lot of schemes for startups.
Yes, sir.
Wherein you can come up with an idea, get funding. But somehow there doesn't seem to be that josh or excitement, or that you do very well. Do you have any thinking of how to overcome this?
I'm sorry, sir, but I do not accept to the view that there is lack of ambition or excitement among women to come up in such roles. So, because by some statistics also, around 40% of startups in India are women-led also, who have at least one women-led member. So, sir, that points out to the lack of acceptance in the higher post members, who do not perceive women as equal to them.
There is a bias or some patriarchal.
Yes, sir. This the patriarchal mindset.
Okay. Now, for decades, the mention of Koraput, Bolangir, Kalahandi, all these districts names were associated with synonymous with starvation deaths, poverty, and all that. Somehow, of late, we don't seem to be hearing them in the same context. What has brought about this change? What has happened there?
So the Koraput, Kalahandi, Malkangiri district, which you referred, belong to the KBK area, which was historically recognized by the state government to provide developmental measures in that area. So we have a separate Western Odisha Development Council, which looks into these matters. So some initiatives like, since that place is tribal dominated, the tribal education has been improved there. There are specific measures for addressing sickle cell anemia, which was highly responsible for premature deaths of the tribal population. So then many civil society organizations in Odisha have also come up to provide food with education with food and habitation facilities for the tribals. So then recently only the government has also come up with a Pakka Ghar Yojana for the tribals who are mining affected, since the western districts are also more prone to mining problems.
Have there been interventions to help in agriculture or, improve their lot in terms of, better crop yields and all that, or it's only based on subsidies and government help?
Yes, sir. Subsidies do help through the MFP produce, but sir, other than that, especially after the GI recognition, such as Kandhamal Haldi and also through the Commerce Ministry Koraput coffee brand, certain organic and agricultural incentives being given to them has increased their marketing and branding power, which is improving livelihood of the farmers also.
Finally, thinking about Rourkela, from Rourkela, a very famous woman movie maker who was born in Rourkela has made international name. And she made films of a certain type which challenged stereotypes and won her awards. Are you aware of this person?
I'm sorry, sir.
Have you heard of Meera Nair?
Yes, sir. I have heard about her.
Anything, any of work she has done?
Sir, I can only vaguely remember. I'm sorry, sir. I cannot exactly recall.
She did challenge many of the things that we discussed on, paternity, not having ambition, and all kinds of issues she had.
Yes, sir.
So that was nice talking to you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Kasturi, very good. We had found you very interesting, and therefore we spent about an hour. But as you are aware, the actual interview will be around 25 minutes. It won't be so elaborate. It won't be so helpful. The UPSC has got the unenviable task of interviewing about 2,000 people and finalize the best among those 2,000. So about 700, they will give some job or other. So they are matter of fact and they are in a hurry. So they would not be so very leisurely. That is something you have to keep in mind. And since you are very, very, very multifaceted with a lot of knowledge, a wide knowledge base, it would be advisable for you to, in the actual interview, to give somewhat crisp answers using key phrases in the very first 2 or 3 sentences. So that will help you so that they'll go to some other topic. Once the you don't have to really note down. You'll remember it. You'll remember it. You have super memory. Just don't bother. You'll remember. Now we'll give you our respective perception of how we have done. feedback. You certainly are very well informed, and I'm quite surprised that for somebody who's an urbanite and an engineer in computer science, you are well informed even on sociological matters. That means as a person who studied sociology, though without, I think, any teacher, you studied it on your own. Did you attend any coaching center where they gave intense classes on sociology?
Sir, not classes. I only took a test series for practice before mains.
So that means you learned first subject and then you tested from the UPSC point of view whether that knowledge is sufficient, and therefore you brush it up. But otherwise you're good. I find you very good in communication skills, your ability to speak your mind, and very polite, not to hurt anyone. These are all your positive characters, except that you committed a small mistake. While talking about UAPA, you said it is a preventive detention. Now, the meaning of preventive detention is to detain a person before he commits a crime.
Yes, sir.
Preventive detention has laws like NSA, National Security Act, etc.
Yes, sir.
UAPA is a part of the punitive detention.
Yes,
Punitive detention is detention as a part of the punishment if convicted. Unfortunately, Father Stan Swami did not get any sentence or conviction. He was not even tried. On a mere suspicion, he was arrested and produced before a court, and the court remanded him to judicial custody, that is its own custody. And Professor Satyanarayana was mentioning about Section 45 of the UAPA Act. You said you'll have to read upon it. You better read upon it.
Yes, sir.
That is an unfortunate section which says that bail is not available. It cannot be granted. And unfortunately, this opinion, which is contained in that particular section 45 of the UAPA, legislation made by Parliament, was not held unconstitutional by the Supreme Court. It is very unfortunate because according to the Indian jurisprudence, bail but not jail is the norm. Bail is to be granted taking into consideration the individual circumstances. Now, what are the special circumstances for granting bail to Father Stan Swami? Number one, he's a very old fellow, 84 years old. Number two, he does not have any record except that he fights for the poor and the downtrodden and the tribals of Jharkhand. And he lives in Jharkhand. And he is almost a saint. He has no personal life, no personal property. He lives in a hut. And he has given up all worldly pleasures. He's a Jesuit priest. And he works for the tribals.
Yes, sir.
Third, he was nowhere present near Bhima Koregaon on the 1st of January 2018 when these incidents have occurred.
Yes, sir.
And finally, he did not figure in the original FIR, First Information Report. His name was added in the complaint given by two upper caste Hindus of Maharashtra, Bhide and Melkote, which forms the subject matter of the second case. There are two cases in Bhima Koregaon. First case is the killing of two Dalits. The government and the NIA has not taken any interest in that case. But they have taken great interest in the complaint given by the upper caste, two mentioned by me earlier. And they made it into a conspiracy, not merely to instigate through Elgar Parishad the violence that occurred on the 1st of January 2018, but they say that these people have conspired to kill the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi. No evidence so far. So, in this context, there was every reason for the normal courts, especially the High Court of Bombay, to have released him on bail because of his ill health. He was suffering from Parkinson's disease, and he was also infected by COVID-19. So that is the time when they should have released him.
Yes.
Unfortunately, they did not release him on bail. Instead, they said he may be admitted to a hospital of his choice, and he was admitted in a Christian missionary hospital, but by then it was too late and he passed away.
Okay.
So the law under which he was arrested is not a preventive detention. It is a punitive detention. And the hands of the Bombay High Court were tied because of a wrong and bad judgment of the Supreme Court of India, which is binding on all high courts. And that is in a case called Zahoor Ahmad Shah Watali versus NIA, National Investigating Agency. If you are interested, you can read that judgment. It is given by two judges of the Supreme Court. Khanwilkar is one judge, the other one is Rastogi. It is on how bail should not be granted. That is very unfortunate. But I hope someday the Supreme Court will revise that particular judgment and give a more citizen-friendly verdict in the bail case of UAPA. Otherwise, you are factually quite correct. Of course, there are some areas where you are a little doubtful. I'm sure Dr. Gopal and others, when they give their feedback, they'll tell you where you need to do a little more reading. Okay. Now I'll hand you over to the other panel members. And in case during their giving of the feedback, you get any doubt or you seek a clarification or you feel like asking a question or two, hold on till I come back towards the end and I'll give you a chance to ask whatever question you feel like. Okay? Dr. Gopal Garu.
Can you hear me, Kasturi?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, sir.
Right. So I totally agree with what the chairman has said about his assessment of your performance in this mock interview. You are quite promising for your age and experience. Your awareness levels are good. And you are also honest and frank in admitting where you didn't know that you would study further. But you had some kind of confusion in one or two areas, which I thought, you shouldn't have. You should continue to say, I'm not sure, I can't recollect. Like you said, I can't recollect a particular word for that annuity. That's good. That's how you should respond. Okay. Now, firstly, about the special purpose vehicle for the smart cities and the basis on which smart cities are selected, some bit of factual information. Since you worked in Smart City Corporation as an intern, maybe that fundamental thing, if you know, it will be good. Now, smart cities, number of cities to a state out of 100 in the entire country are allotted based on urban population and the number of urban local bodies in that state. Okay. Tamil Nadu has got the maximum number of smart cities because they have declared all major panchayats, big panchayats, also as towns under the relevant act. Therefore, they have got more smart cities, and I think you have got about 5 or so. You may check that. It's not very relevant, but basis, since you work there, you should know. Why special purpose vehicle? Usually, when the municipalities, councils, corporations, they get money, they're all elected people's representatives, corporators. They would say if there are 50 wards, or divisions in a corporation, if 10 crores are received, they'll say, please allocate these 10 crores by 50 watts, and we will see what prioritization should be given. But smart city is a scheme where a municipality is expected to demonstrate its competence to attract investment by saying that we will be able to take up smart tasks. We are also smart enough. Given the system, given the freedom, we will be able to deliver results. So in a corporation, there's no dilution of resources. If a project is given to take up sewage treatment plant, it will not be divided into 5 sewage treatment plants where foundation stones will be laid for all 5 and budget is over. One sewage treatment plant, it has to be started and completed by having a proper DPR, having proper price and physical contingencies. If there is a delay in execution of work, if there is some addition to quantities that were originally collected. So a corporation is expected to deliver and not give excuses saying that there are no funds. So usually in these bodies in our country, generally, if you have, in a Jilla Parishad or a municipal corporation, you have 1 crore available, there's a tendency to take up 130% of 1 crore work so that money is spent. About results we'll see after 4 or 5 years. So therefore, corporation, to demonstrate their commitment. All right.
Okay.
Then this Lingaraji temple, Government of India basically earlier also with reference to Puri said, they're all archaeological monuments of importance. We should not disturb them and so on and so forth. And therefore, even Tirupati, Tirumala, Tirupati, Devasthanam, some temples there. So they said if it is declared as an archaeological monument, it is a fact that it is an archaeological monument. But the Lingaraj temple says, and many other temples say, we signed an agreement with the Archaeological Survey of India to give us technical advice on how to protect these, not to have restrictions imposed on us. So therefore, they said, this is after all a temple. This is not a monument to be preserved. A temple where the Sahayaks and the Sevaks and those Pandas, they're all, some of them are expected to live close to the temple. And therefore, if you say, now the restriction is up to 100 meters radius, don't build anything. Now that won't work in temples. That might work in, say, some Charminar or, some other fort. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Not near a temple. So therefore, the latest objection is that Lingaraji temple group also has got this restriction, and therefore state government have written to the Ministry of Culture. I'm sure they will remove it, or there will be some management plan as to how to get over the genuine requirements of this temple for taking up development of this temple area. All right. That is about this. And you got confused with the SDGs rank and UODB and UODB per se. UODB ranking is given by Niti Aayog for different states.
Yes, sir.
Right from the ease with which you commence business, like single window clearance, instead of going around 10 departments to get clearances for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If a prospective investor applies, how easily he can get business permission, how easily he can run, how the number of inspections can be controlled and restricted. Labor, factories, other departments, they don't have to go, every week some fellow goes and harasses in the form of inspection. So in EODB, they're all expected to go on a given day by giving prior notice so that the works works don't get disturbed. So this facility of doing business and the ranking is given by the Niti Aayog for the states within country and World Bank for different countries. Okay, in order to ensure that the prospective investors, they know how they are rated. It's a different matter whether a high ranking state has got high investments, there is a positive correlation or not, is a different matter. In fact, Orissa has come down from 7th rank to 11th rank to some 14th rank to now I think one of those last ranks, though the government contends saying that the basis for giving ranks is not good, that they are otherwise good, they have got good investment. It's a different controversy.
Yes.
You got confused with the SDG ranking. SDG ranking is given for those 17 parameters.
Yes, sir.
And whether the state is a front runner or doing well or not, etc., 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 by the Niti Aayog. So got confused. So I thought that should be clarified.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Finally, the PPP projects, basically it's a risk sharing that is written in the concession agreement. Who invests money, who runs it, whether the risks are borne by those who are in a better position to bear the risks. Example, if you want to lay a road, the state government is in a better position to take the risk of land acquisition and fighting the litigation, if at all there is a litigation. A private company cannot, put their stakes in Land Acquisition Act and notifications or private agreements where title of the land is not conclusive. Somebody else will claim subsequent. So the state is in a better position. Therefore, state acquires land and gives to a private operator to invest on a road, and they recover through different means, tolls, annuities, etc., etc., etc. So that is a public-private partnership where the risk is shared in such a way that the party in a better position will be able to take that kind of a risk. A party who is not in a good position to take financial risk, government doesn't want to take. They want to invest but not take risk. All right.
Yes,
so this is public-private partnerships. So this, if you have this broad clarity, I'm sure for your age and experience, you will be able to do extremely well. I wish you all the best.
Thank you, sir.
Kasturi, you have quite a few positives to your overall preparation, and also chances of getting selected are quite bright, except that, because your subject is sociology, which also requires not merely uh, reading books and understanding from the books also, which requires a little bit of observation and interaction. But given your age, I think it's quite understandable that you are not able to uh, meet the demand, raised by certain questions. Okay. In fact, to give you a specific example, the positive outcome of Atmanirbhar, you were only giving, like typical aspirant for the exam, answers from the material that you have read. If only perhaps you had looked around and seen how the communities which were otherwise engaged in this activity are now being treated. So the kind of contempt, the kind of distance that was earlier was maintained, has it disappeared? Okay, are they now being accepted as part of members of society without the concept of pollution, without the concept of the, the status, etc. Okay, which in other words means in real terms, suppose if someone who was otherwise engaged in that activity earlier, is he being accepted as an equal member of society in social interaction? Okay, perhaps something which can only come through either observation or meeting people and all that. And I can understand that given your age and given your engagement with studies and all that, you had no opportunity to observe, which would only come either through wide reading, which could be through newspaper, features, articles and so on, or through interaction with, other members of society. It could be your immediate family, or it could be your friend circle, relations, etc., etc. Okay, so there is a bit of a handicap there, right? Uh, in terms of content of some of the issues, such as national textile policy, I suggest that you should read up. There are more issues than merely setting up technology textile parks. There are also issues relating to innovation. There are also issues relating to export initiatives, markets being created. There are 4 or 5 components to the textile policy. The material is available. I think you can read and update yourself with that. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And then since you said about fashion design, the project Sure also has got 5 components. Okay. Those 5 components also you check up. The material is available. I'm not saying specific. I'm not going into those details only to save time. But I've got the stuff with me. But then, so quickly tell you is about the environmental impact of garments. That's why I linked it to jeans also, where the raw material is sourced from, etc., etc. Okay, you can check up that the details of Sure. But I also admire you for the middle of the road approach that you have taken on very sensitive issues like Sabarimala and all that, because it much depends on how there's a mixed reaction, you said, quite which is quite right actually.
Yes,
It's not as if women were jumping with joy just because the Supreme Court has given a decision, right? There is also the system of beliefs.
Yes,
right?
sir.
Okay, and then perhaps it was not really warranted for judiciary to interfere in matters like that, because uh, after all, what is at issue is that on one hand you have a constitutional morality, constitutional value framework, and on the other hand you have a belief system.
Yes, sir.
So how do you balance between the two? It is my belief not to go to temple or to go to a mountain or worship a tree. How are you interested?
Yes,
Isn't it?
sir.
So these are not matters of rights, freedoms, equalities, and so on, isn't it? Anyway, so but I admire that you have taken the middle of the road, and you were also quite diplomatic. I really appreciate that. But by and large, you are a very good material, except that considering your age, you had the certain drawback of observing society from close quarters, and because of your limited interaction with other sections of society, perhaps there was some kind of a deficiency in your understanding. But I think that you can overcome with wider reading. Maybe you could read a few more articles or some features sometimes, Sunday supplement features and all. They will also highlight issues like this.
Okay.
So when you read a feature, you will actually know, right? So that is how you should supplement your knowledge base. But otherwise, you are very good material. Your rate of flow words is also very good. You are neither too fast nor too slow, and you are also answering with a lot of humility, which are very good traits. It leaves a very good impression on the person listening to your answers. So you are a good material. I wish you all the best.
Thank you, sir.
Ms. Kasturi.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I agree with Vivek, sir. He has given the positive traits of Ms. Kasturi. What I observed is that you are very pleasant in presentation of your views. You don't want to create any type of friction while discussing anything. So that's a very good trait for the conversation. Of course, knowledge gaps here and there, they're bound to be there, but they have to be filled in so that you can present a good picture before the UPSC board. So coming to your Odisha, the state, why the name was changed. So 10 years ago, it was changed.
Yes, sir.
Okay. It was changed because Kapilendra Deva, the Gajpatis, so he issued some inscriptions that was there in the Puri walls, the temple walls. It was written that Odisha or Odisha Praja. So he has used these words.
Okay, sir.
Odisha and Odisha Praja. So these are the words there on the walls of Puri temples. So you said the Vadra and all these things are old names, but these are very current names. So, but he has used them in the 15th century. And the Odisha government, that means the people they want it, so they go for a change. But there is an historical perspective for this that you can take into consideration.
Okay.
Okay. Then coming to the model, the CM has issued a resolution passed, whereby every student, Panchayati, Raj institution, government employees, elected representatives, Vana Suraksha Samiti. So all these people, so they were asked, he asked them to train them to face the COVID situation. So that resolution was taken this unique way.
Yes,
yeah, so that's the thing you may, I think, understand that. Coming to the farmers project, of course, you have given two important differences between the center and the state. The third one is in Odisha, suppose if there is any person paid income tax,
okay,
the central government that is being excluded, but in Odisha, no exclusion. So they're also being paid for that. So coming to this, Sir has already explained to you about the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act. So that I'm not going to discuss it, but this is very, very important.
Yes, sir.
But I was very much surprised, and I was also not happy on the incident of Orissa. So Gladys Staines, a lady, a widow lady, though her husband was burnt alive, son and daughter both were burnt alive, but normally any lady might have ran away from that place to Australia. So they came from Australia, but she stayed back and continued the mission of her husband. That's a fantastic role model. I think we have to pay good respects to that lady. Even today in Manoharpur, Kinjo, Kionjor district, so they remember this incident and they pay respect to this lady. So you cannot afford to lose sight of this great incident. It's a bad incident, but the sacrifice and the type of commitment she showed is exemplary. I linked with Guha's statement. R.C. Guha's statement, where he said that the shrinking means it's coming down. Intolerance, of course, is a result of that thing. Both are different here. And coming to that secularism, so if you can see earlier, 1950s, and re-sacralization, once you got that type of stability in the society, so some people definitely go for the mysticism, that is the thing. And the fundamentalism is growing. Nobody can deny this. So what is happening is the type of the openness of the society is now slowly shrinking. And now people are also going for different religious intolerances coming because of this phenomena. So one thing as a student of sociology, we must observe that the society, open society, is now becoming a sort of closing society because of certain developments. Yes, that reflects in political setups and that reflects in other aspects also. But this is not a good phenomena. So that's the reason he expressed his anguish over the state of affairs. The play and short play. Play and short play are one act. They're all meant for action. It's not for just publication. Okay, there are many differences. I think you can go between the short play and the one act play. There are many differences, not only one character. No, there can be many characters. And it depends on the situation. Okay, so time can be changed, the situation can be changed. So there are a lot of things between one act play and the short play and the play also. So these things I think you can go. And I think an understanding on the differences between Andhra Pradesh and Orissa, they're good. I appreciate their things. Yes, as our co-panelist said, you got very good material. I hope that you are going to get this time very good rank and see that your dream is being fulfilled. I wish you all the best.
Thank you, sir.
Ms. Kasturi, you're quite well informed, and I find your good reasoning also in terms of responses, which is a positive trait. But a few gaps in your awareness. One of them is, when I asked about Meera Nair, she made a big name as a film producer, especially on Indian society, culture, and so our sociological aspects of India to international audiences. She also got the Padma Bhushan Award. Like some of her films, like Salam Bombay, that time. Then the film on Kama Sutra, Mississippi Masala. There are several movies which reflected Indian culture, society to global audiences. And she challenged many of the existing practices. So that is one. Second thing, when we talk about Odisha, the stereotyping of starvation and all that now has changed to, now the general talk is about good governance, managing cyclones better, stable political environment and all that. So the transformation, as a person from Odisha, you should be in a position to better explain. But some of us, sometimes it is, believe it or not. So you are in a better position, so you can explain, articulate in a crisp manner.
Yes, sir.
And the thing on computer science, women, leadership and all that, you have navigated it well with reasonably good answers and gave a good alternate opinion on the challenges, the schemes and all that. I think you can read up more, because in coming years we'll find more, or we should find more women in leadership roles, boardrooms, decision making, in politics and all. So I wish you all the very best.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Kasturi, you have heard a fairly detailed feedback from all of us, at the end of which, is there anything you want to ask us?
Yes, sir. Sir, regarding that so Father Stan Shami controversy, sir, I had to ask that one thing coming into my mind was that some international organizations they presented that some central government or especially some wine companies deliberately planted evidence to arrest Father Stan Swami and other activists. So since that is not yet completely proved if their proposition is right or not, so is it right to say this against the government?
First of all, evidence gathered by the investigating agency, in this case, NIA, National Investigating Agency, is to be examined by the trial court, TRIAL, trial court, during the trial when they examine witnesses, etc. The limited question concerning Father Stan Swami's death is why he was denied bail. The trial would have commenced in the NIA court maybe a year later or 2 years later. But that is not what the average citizen of India is perturbed with.
Okay, sir.
He is perturbed that it can happen to me.
Yes, sir.
What happened to Stan Swami? Nobody complained against him. The complaint was made by Bhide and Melkote about 20 days after that incident on 1st January 2018, leveling allegations against a few people who came to that Bhima Koragem area one day before the incident on the 31st of December 2017 and gave some speeches under the auspices of Elgar Parishad. Dr. Stan Swami is not one of them. He never visited that area at all in his life. He originally belongs to Tiruchirappalli, which is in the state of Tamil Nadu, chose to become a monk of the order of Jesuit. That is, they don't marry, they are strong Catholics. And for the last 50 years, he has been working in a state called Jharkhand in the tribal areas. So what is the connection between him and this particular incident is something that can be examined only during trial.
Yes, sir.
The grounds on which he should have been released on bail is, number one, his very old age. Number two, his state of health, which is that he is already suffering from Parkinson's disease. He is hard of hearing. He cannot hold even a glass of water and drink. He cannot.
Yes,
And he is already afflicted by COVID-19. Therefore, like another accused, Varavar Rao, he should also be given medical bail.
yes, sir.
That is, the bail will be cancelled as and when he recovers completely. Even that was not given.
Yes, sir.
Why it was not given? Because of the Supreme Court interpretation of Section 45, which, if you have the time, incidentally, when is the interview for you?
So August 25.
Maybe they will give you enough time. You simply go into the Google search and type. Now you note down.
Yes, sir.
Zahur Ahmad Shah Watali, Watali, versus National Investigative Agency. This is the case in which the Supreme Court gave a decision. They based it largely on the provisions contained in UAPA, especially Section 45. So that has unfortunately prevented all lower courts, including high courts, from exercising their discretionary powers in granting bail. Regarding planting of evidence on the computer of one of the accused, it is not Stan Swami. It is another person who was arrested about a year before Stan Swami himself. There were a series of arrests made. Stan Swami was in the third installment. The others were, there was a professor, there was one Navalakha, Like that, there are many people. 18 people have been charge sheeted. The last person, number 18, is Stan Swami,
Yes.
with least evidence. And he is the oldest. So, depending on what kind of question the board asks, you will have to say, sir, there are some who feel that he should have been granted bail by the High Court, which is also a constitutional court. Lower courts are not mentioned in the Constitution. High courts, they have jurisdiction under Article 226. And Supreme Court, of course, is the Supreme Court.
Yes, sir.
Defying this particular judgment in the Supreme Court, given by the Supreme Court, Delhi High Court has released 3 people. Those 3 people who were concerned with some violence while agitating against Citizenship Amendment Act in 2019. 2 of them were women and 1 of them was a man, with all of them young, and they were all generally students of either JNU or Jamia Millia Islamia.
Okay.
They are all students. You can easily get that. Delhi High Court took an independent stance and said, this is a fit case. And they gave a bail order, which is 100 pages in long, 100 pages in length. The Supreme Court found fault with this 100-page order, but merely said it cannot be quoted as a precedent. But they did not stay that order.
Okay, sir.
They didn't want to have a panga, a fight with Delhi High Court. Delhi High Court generally is quite popular because it's liberal. It is not pro-government. Supreme Court, till now, for the last 3 Chief Justices, has been pro-government. It does not want to do anything which the government opposes. So that is the unfortunate situation. So therefore, you will have to say there are 2 opinions. You have to say some who feel that Stan Swami has been correctly detained, but there is no evidence.
Yes, sir.
There are some who feel that they should not be unnecessarily incarcerated. It's okay if there is evidence, they will anyway punish him. After due trial, he will be sentenced to maybe 20 years or 30 years or till death or hanged, whatever it is. But that is after trial.
Yes, sir.
Without trying him, keeping him for long periods inside a jail, without proving that he has committed any crime, that is against the jurisprudence concerning bail in India. So there are 2 opinions. You have to merely mention these 2. You don't have to say, I am a fan of Stan Swami or things like that. No need. You simply say, sir, there are some who are very agitated. And one of the people who got very, very offended by this act of both Supreme Court as well as Bombay High Court is a former Chief Justice of Delhi High Court, A.P. Shah, also a Gujarati, but he's not a Bhakt of Modi. He's a Gujarati, A.P. Shah. He was the chairman of the Law Commission, a very eminent person. Of course, he was not elevated to the Supreme Court. It doesn't matter why he was not elevated. But he very, very vehemently criticized this judgment and the way Bombay High Court did not have the guts, which Delhi High Court had. They said, we are not bound by what Supreme Court said. We judge each case on the merits of that case, on the facts and circumstances of that case and the people who have been detained. In that case, they were PhD scholars, research scholars, young. In this case, a very old man and a known worker in the field of tribal welfare. There are 2 different perspectives. I'm glad that if you get to know these 2, you will be able to present. But don't ever say,
Okay, sir.
I personally support this view or that view. But if they do ask, very unlikely, but if they do ask, you can support anybody you feel like. It doesn't really matter.
Okay, sir.
Because your opinion is hardly any consequence. What is of consequence to UPSC is, are you informed? Are you aware of these developments? Are you watching the developments in the Indian criminal justice system? There is an opinion that the Supreme Court is not living up to the expectations of the average citizen of India. There is an opinion that the Supreme Court is not upholding the fundamental rights of citizens. Right to life is a fundamental right, Article 21.
Yes.
So even a person accused of so-called offense of UAPA is entitled to his life. And when he's down with COVID-19, the state could have at least released him on pay. Where will he run away? He's not a person who will go abroad. He's not Mehul Choksi, or he's not Nirav Modi. He's not Vijay Mallya. He's a priest who hardly has any property. He lives in a hut. And he has denied to himself all worldly pleasures. And he is not even doing active propagation of Christianity. Though he is a Jesuit priest, he is in the field of service. He doesn't preach Christianity.
Yes.
He is only questioning the state wherever it has denied tribals its rights by filing cases in Jharkhand High Court. So this is the background. Anything else you want to ask?
So my doubts are cleared, sir. Thank you, sir.
So your interview is on 12th of August. Come ahead.
25th August.
Okay, plenty of time. I'm sure you will do very well. I have no doubt that we'll see your name, and even in YouTube some small videos as to how you cracked the civils. All the best then. God bless you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you for your time, sir.
Okay, bye.